Yeah, my voice does sound a lot better, but it's not completely better. Um, I am still on my inhaler. I got this I got all these all this equipment all around me here. And being down and out for a week has made me really, really behind. And I figured if I did not do a stream, there probably wouldn't be one this week. It's a busy week, heading into convention season like before. Remember when I had that February 18th deadline and things were so crazy? Then I had that little bit of breathing room, pun intended. Well, we're heading into Colorado Convention. I am bylaws committee chair. We have a 4 or 5 hour bylaws committee report. Yes, but that takes a lot of prep work. I need to do my inhaler, but I figure I'll give you guys an LNC update. It's been a while since we did that. Doesn't require that much preparation, and I can answer questions. However, I get paranoid that my chat is not appearing properly. So I think I got the settings right. I see a few people watching. It's hard when I don't plan these ahead of time to get a decent audience. But if you're watching, can you type something into chat? Nathan, you're always there for me. Okay, the chat is working. I want to take a few shots out of my inhaler here, and then we'll get going. God, it tastes like crap. Tastes like absolute crap. Okay. Ooh, and it gave me a coughing fit. So an LNC update. We had a meeting last weekend, and I'm trying to pull up my notes actually. And hello, Tyson, Trendlin, and Connor. I'm trying to pull up my notes because I'm actually even trying to remember not what we did. I remember what we did, but things that would be of interest to you guys because I don't want to cover boring stuff. So at any time there is a question, stick it in chat and I'll answer it. First, let's deal with some liberty. Let's deal with some drama. I know I keep dealing with this same drama, but listen, I guess it doesn't get old to people. Oh, before I forget, please subscribe to this channel. Really does help encourage me. And if you enjoy this type of content, do I actually still have yes, look what I still have. Yes, you can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty. I would truly, truly appreciate it. And I think that's it. Subscribe, and become a patron. I truly love it. But let's get on to the business. Now, first, the perennial complaint. The perennial complaint is, I'll stick this up on, show this. This down here is a link to where you can read LNC business emails. Go to that link and you can subscribe, just like you can to my channel. And when you subscribe, you get emails delivered to your box when we have a conversation. And to answer Hector's question, I believe I am. I believe I'm your convention parliamentarian. Will this be the 4th year in a row? Stephen Nikela did talk to me about it. I was just talking with, I think it's your convention committee chair. Hold on one second. Trying to see if we can make flight arrangements. Talking with John Morrissey. So tell John to text me back. See, we're having a chat here. And I sent him info and I'm waiting. So yes, Hector, the short answer, which I'm very bad at, is most likely I am going to be your convention parliamentarian. So back to the whole thing with the LNC list. What is the controversy? There always is one, isn't there? Is that there isn't enough business done on the business list. So everyone is convinced that we must be having these secret discussions. No, baby dolls. You have us confused with the last LNC. They were the people that had the secret conversations, not us. Why is there so little conversation on the LNC list? I'm going to give you multiple reasons because I actually don't think that's an unfair characterization. I do think the reasons people are inventing in their fever dreams are unfair. Okay, why is there less? Number one, we don't hate each other's guts. Not that entire LNCs have hated each other's guts, but most LNCs that I've been on, about 25% hate the other 75%. Sorry, that's just the way it is. That's probably describes the party at large. I think as a group, we get along better than the general averages in the party. Because of that, when someone brings something up for a vote, it gets sponsored quickly and it passes quickly. Because people are so used to libertarians hating each other, they think we must have worked this all out behind the scenes. No, it's just that somebody comes up with an idea and we're like, that's cool. And that's just the way it goes. But that's one reason. There's probably about 5 reasons I'm going to give you. Second reason, we have a lot of meetings. If you remember the last LNC, they imploded so badly that from about January forward, they canceled all of their meetings. Remember, they didn't have an in-person meeting in March. They canceled it. They canceled their monthly meetings that they used to have, e-meetings that I set up. They had a few executive committee meetings for things that shouldn't have been an executive committee, that should have been LNC decisions. But in general, they just started avoiding each other like the plague. I don't blame them. I didn't like being around them either. But because of that, when there were decisions to be made, they had to do it on the list because they weren't meeting. We meet a lot. I might be able to actually prove this visually, but anyone who is paying attention last LNC knows we used to meet a lot at the beginning of that term, and then at the end of the term, they just stopped meeting. That's one reason the minutes were so bad, but they just stopped talking to each other and meeting. I am pulling up LNC meeting archives. So let's go to the beginning of 2022. And then let's look at the beginning of, let's just say, well, we started doing electronic meetings. Let's just look at 2022. And you'll see how many meetings we had. Let me pull up this screen. 1 second here. And thank you, Kathy. I hope you're sounding better. So I'd like to share right here. Here's our meeting archives. You can see at the beginning of 2022, they had what 2022 is our convention, right? They had a few meetings. So they had January 7th executive committee, January 17th LNC, and I think that was an electronic meeting. That yeah, these were all electronic meetings. They had another short electronic meeting. These were all about either Massachusetts or Delaware, if I remember. Then they had an executive committee. Then they had an executive committee. Then they had a short online meeting. I believe this was about Massachusetts. Then they had an executive committee. So they hardly met at the beginning. Now look at the rest of 2022. Look at all these freaking meetings we've had. It's a lot of meetings. If you compare it to 2021, Look at 2021. Out of the whole year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They had 14 meetings all year, including executive committees. Now, let's just talk about post-Reno and see how many meetings we've had in 2022. Remember, in all of 2021, they had 14, and we're only going to be counting from the post-convention meeting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So in half of the time, we've had 5 more meetings. We've had 19 meetings. So that's another reason. So I'm so sorry, Kathy. Okay. So that's one reason why we don't talk much on the list. Meetings are much more productive. I like the rule we have in Colorado that email votes are only for things that can't wait for a meeting, that are relatively uncontroversial, and all it takes is one objection and it will require a special meeting. You get things done in meetings. Roberts even says email votes are no bueno. You don't really have a deliberative session. So considering that in 6 months, we had 19 meetings, while in 2021, for the entire year, the LNC had 14 meetings. Goes to tell you one reason why there's not a lot of emails. So first, we don't bicker. Second, we have a lot of meetings. Third, I said I had like 5 reasons. Those are the two main ones. I'm trying to think of what the rest of them were, and I don't even remember, because those are the 2 main ones. Oh, third, Angela does talk to people. So she doesn't blindside people with things on the list. Now, some people go, oh, those are secret discussions. If your idea of transparency means that LNC members can't on their own, like me maybe texting 1 or 2 other people and having a discussion, you're a barking moonbat. That has always happened. There's not a thing you can do about it. We're friends. We talk. What needs to be public are the full LNC discussions, unless they fall under the very narrow categories of executive session, which is political strategy requiring confidentiality, legal updates, staff matters, and contracts. That's it. So those were 3 reasons. I thought we had 5, but that's probably about it. But this grand conspiracy of some secret list just doesn't exist. Now I'm going to let you in on a secret. Apparently, last LNC did not destroy all of the secret lists they promised you they would. Remember that promise? It turns out there still is a distribution list that doesn't go out to the public. It's been used twice, not by LNC members, accidentally by staff, just to let us know something stupid. Like, we're meeting, like something like, dinner for the New Mexico meeting's been reset from 5:30 to 6 or something dumb like that. And Kathy's my witness here. What did I say when I saw that? I said, I see an email address here I don't recognize. Is this email public? If it's not, it needs to go away. And what did I say, Kathy? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you're the only other LNC member here. I said, even though we're a different LNC, the LNC as a body exists in perpetuity until it's dissolved. Even though its members may change, its decisions survive the change of members. And that last LNC, it was voted to destroy every secret list. So I don't know where this email address came from, but it needs to go bye-bye. And it hasn't been used again. And it was entirely by accident to announce a change in like a dinner time. I will not put up with that. So y'all can stop. Well, the ones who are making this shit up aren't going to stop. Those of you of good faith, now you know. So apparently we were having too much fun. I didn't even start it. I don't remember who started some email lists where we were. I don't have pearls on. I should have brought some pearls. I need to get some prop pearls that I could just clutch. Apparently, we were having too much fun on one email. So I started another email saying a really serious situation. And then a certain, let's just say, there was some upset at that. If your biggest problem is that I am making a joke on the LNC list, you need some real problems. But there aren't these secret discussions going on. Do Angela and I talk nearly every day? Yep. And that's the way officers should be. Do you want to know how many times I talked to Joe Bishop Henchman during the short period of time I had the displeasure of being his secretary? Well, actually, it was about a year. Maybe 4 times. Total. If I'm going to be generous, let's say 10. A couple texts and a couple emails out of a year. Nick and I talked more because Nick and I were actually friends. But you want to know about how many times Nick and I actually talked about LNC business and we served 2 terms together? Maybe 20. That's not normal. Now, I'm not going to show you the text, but Angela builds consensus and she talks with her officers. No decisions are made because 2 officers can't make decisions, but she doesn't blindside me. I'm not going to show you the text, but I want to give you an idea of the difference between this LNC and the past. So this is a chat screen. I'm not going to let you see. We got to put it far enough away so that it's blurred. But this is Angela and I. Still going. We're not even a year into the term. Because she talks to her officers. We're nowhere near the beginning. And she talks this way with all of her officers. Shit, we're nowhere near the beginning. What date are we on? Does it even give you dates? We're on February 9th of this year. All of that was a February. Oh my God. I'm not going to go all the way back to Reno. You get the idea. Because Angela is a good leader. You might not agree with every decision she makes, but she talks. Yeah, JJ and I talk a lot too. Not that much though. She talks to her officers. Compare that to what I told you about. Oh, and Whitney and I never talked, which isn't surprising. But from what I told, well, can't say ever. I did ask her when she was finally going to issue a ruling on a couple of things, but it wasn't talking like, hey, I have this idea. Do you think it can be improved in some way? Anything like that. It wasn't friendly. Let's just put it that way. Oh, you weren't thinking about me. Were you thinking about some girlfriend, JJ? But you and I talk a lot too. Shall I see how much JJ and I talk? JJ and I don't talk on text. JJ and I talk on instant messenger. Let's see how much JJ and I talk. Now people are gonna wag their tongues. We talk a lot too. JJ. But anyway. Sorry. Still got it. I don't know who I'm protecting from my cough. I guess the dog down there. Who do you advise? You advise a million people, so I have no idea who you're talking to. Yeah. Never mind. I was going to make a Colorado joke, but I'll refrain. I'm not butthurt about Colorado, just so you know. You'd know it if I were, because I would have told you. Shit, I forgot what I was going to say. So there aren't these secret discussions. Kathy and I have discussions. All of us are friends, but big LNC, and we don't pre-decide decisions ahead of time. We get thoughts, and that's about it. And that's a normal functioning board. We'll talk about Colorado some other time. JJR convention's coming up. And this isn't about Colorado, it's about the LNC. I'm not on the board in Colorado, and I'm like so happy about that because I don't have to worry about their shit. They can worry about their own shit. Who's speaking of Colorado? Who's at? Oh, Forest Mommy. Forest Mommy's running for city council. Where? I should know this. Where? I'll help her. I'll help her campaign. It was fun running for city council. So, I was leading to a point with this no secret discussions. But while I'm here, let's do the grifting. Every super Alvera, is that even a city? Colorado's kind of big. You don't mean Aurora, Alvera? Let me look up Alvera. I didn't even know there was a city named Alvera. Is that like out in the sticks? Alvera, Colorado. Hold on, I spelled that wrong. Alvera. Did you know that's the name of a deodorant? I didn't know that. Alvera, Colorado. No, that's not a name. that's not a name in Colorado. When you find out, let me know. I could always just ask her, but you don't mean Aurora, right? Do you mean Arvada, maybe? Okay, well, anyway, I guess you'll find out. So, what was I leading? Arvada. Okay, now I know where Arvada is. Okay, Alvera. Oh. Okay, Arvada's pretty big. What was I leading to? I was leading to something. Oh, so some people are saying, I've seen no discussion of subject X, whatever subject X is, on the list. Well, of course you haven't, because we don't discuss a lot of things on the list. We discuss them in meetings. So what's the biggest controversy right now? It's not something I'm happy about. But to say we've never discussed it is like saying, tell me you don't bother to listen to LNC meetings, yet bitch about the LNC constantly on Twitter without telling me that you don't watch LNC meetings while bitching about the LNC constantly on Twitter. So we used to have 2 database programs. One of them was called Razor's Edge and Civi CRM. Razor's Edge is, and not like razor like you shave your face, razor as in like fundraiser. is what staff used. Civi CRM is what the states used. The two got synchronized about once a month. But what would happen is if you were working with a state and you were trying to get people to renew their national members, like I constantly do, I'd call and they'd go, "What are you talking about? I renewed my membership 2 weeks ago." And I'm looking at Civi and it says they're not renewed. So I got in the phone to headquarters. I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "They renewed through headquarters. It's updated in Razor's Edge. It's worst case, if they do it at the beginning of the month, it takes a month before it's imported over to Civi." I'm like, "That's unacceptable. It makes me look like an idiot when I'm calling people." And this happened multiple times. And that's not that's just one example. Plus, Razor's Edge was costing us like $60,000 a year in licensing fees. It was super expensive, super proprietary. One day they could turn woke and cut us off, all the problems that happens when you're not dealing with your own software. It was always the plan to phase out Razor's Edge and to phase it out gracefully and move everything to Civi. There's a reason that didn't happen last term. For legal reasons, I cannot tell you exactly why. However, it didn't happen. And we got to the point where it just had to happen. We had to pull the Band-Aid off the scab. It wasn't a problem of our making. I'm not going to tell you whose problem it was, except to say it happened last term. But it was like we had to take care of it because the $60,000 license renewal was coming up. So it was either take care of it now and save that $60,000 or wait a whole other year and that amount could be slightly off. And try to be doing this while you're planning a national convention to come up in 5 months. It was a no-brainer. We had to do it now. So a motion was passed. I believe it was at the November LNC meeting. You can go back and listen to it. That said, that ordered staff, do not renew Civi. Didn't mean to give you a heart attack, Nathan. Do not renew Razor's Edge and port over everything from Razor's Edge into Civi, which had to be done mostly by hand. Not all of it, but most of it. Because Razor's Edge is proprietary, we did not, when people put in their financial information, we didn't have that. It was stored confidentially in the Razor's Edge ecosystem. We couldn't do a printout of everybody's credit cards, which is a good thing because if we ever got, it was a level of security, but it's also because it was a proprietary system. If we were allowed, if last LNC phased out Razor's Edge the way they were supposed to, there would have been very little donor loss. I'm not a tech person, but this is how I think it could have happened. We would have taken a chunk of 100, called those people, told them we were going to lose their credit card information, whatever. It would have been much more graceful. But because we had to do it suddenly, under a time crunch, what happened is that last batch of donors before the license was going to expire just got brute forced into Civi, but we didn't have any of their credit card information. That is why there was such a huge drop in donations in January. I know that you all, some of you, not anybody listening to my show, I know some people will be like, it was because of those New Hampshire tweets, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was because of a failure of the last term that finally came home to roost. Wasn't entirely their fault. We have some fault to blame as well, because no term is perfect. But this should have been done a long time ago. We've recaptured by calling, maybe Kathy can remember the percentage, a certain percentage of those donors, and got their credit card information. It's going to take a while to recapture all of those. But if you think the big donor drop was from something, some big conspiracy, oh, it was Rage Against the Machine, oh, it was New Hampshire tweets, whatever your fever dreams are coming up with, it wasn't that. It was because we, despite the rumors being circulated to the contrary, it was because we went all in to Civi CRM. It had to be done. And when you calculate, now I am going to be pulling numbers a little bit out of my ass. Let's say we lost $35,000 worth of donors from that. Let's just say. But the license was $60,000 a year. We're still ahead $25,000. It's just that it happened all at once. And I think Kathy's right. We recovered all now but $4,000 a month in donors from that brute force into Civi. Now, some of those people, even if we reach them, might not want to renew. That's natural. You gain donors, you lose donors. But there's certain members who go, did the LNC not know this? Is this a surprise? You weren't listening to LNC meetings, weren't you? I keep hearing people go, it hasn't been discussed on the list. Of course it hasn't, because I told you earlier, that's not this LNC style. We discuss things in meetings. This was discussed in meetings. And for those of you still going on about it now, it means you did not even listen to the March meeting where it was discussed, where I knew people probably eyes glazed over because I'm there and I'm elected to be there. And sometimes with this business stuff, my eyes glaze over, where I specifically directed a question to the executive director, even though I knew the answer, just to make sure members were clear to go. So you're saying X, which means X, which means X. Do I understand you correctly? So that everyone was on the same page. I went out of my way to do that. Yet people still, after that meeting, are claiming we never discussed it. That's enough to make you want to put your head through drywall. I know it's a lot more time intensive to listen to meetings than to just read an email list, but that's how this LNC operates. Oh, I remember reason number 4. Maybe I'll remember reason number 5. Different generation. This is a very young LNC. I'm one of the older members, and I don't mean older as in more experienced. I am more experienced. I've been on the LNC since 2016, but there's some older members who this is their first term. But in general, a lot of the leaders on this LNC are very young. It's the newer generation. They don't communicate the same way old LNCs do. And for old fogies like me and some of you out there to complain, it's not like it was in 2014. Oh, sorry. They're kids. It's the next generation. They communicate differently. Don't ever call them on the phone. It's text. And they don't like long, drawn-out email discussions. It's text or you meet in person or on Zoom. That's just the way it is. You don't have to like it, but it's the way it is. That was reason number 4. I'm sure 5 will come to me. I'm proving my age right now. So that was the biggest reason for the drop in donors. We still need to recapture donors. And I don't even care about that. We need to be higher anyway. I'm never happy. But I just don't like dishonesty. Okay, so that was a big thing to come out of the meeting. Kathy, you're here. I'm like counting on you so much now. What was another big thing? That was one of the really big things to come out of the meeting, to make sure people understood that. I am looking at my notes. There was a lot of executive session. I know a lot of people don't like that. Oh yeah, the give or get. I asked LNC member, and it was funny because some people, I'm not even going to mention the name of the LNC member they targeted. It wasn't me. But oh, they can't give enough money. This person fundraises day in and day night out for the party. Like it was so petty. But anyway, I moved to have a gentleman's agreement where each of us will either give personally or be personally responsible for fundraising a certain amount of money. I think David Dusseldorf, is ahead of all of us right now. How much did he say he raised between himself? I think he said he gave 100 and raised 200. I got to beat him now. Good thing to do at your upcoming conventions. Kathy, you already had your convention, so you can't do that. So yeah, give or get was something. Let's see. We gave Mr. Watkins his cod piece. That was nice. We did have a lot of executive sessions to discuss staffing and legal issues. Sorry, not sorry. That is appropriate for executive session. Our next meeting will be in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Hilton, where we will be having. Did we set the location? I know we set the meeting. Yes, it was at the Hilton between July 7th and July 24th. We changed some committee requirements. We discussed the Civi CRM committee, but we didn't pass it. It's still it's something we're still in discussion phase on, and that I think was most of the public discussion. So there's some things that the policy manual committee needs to go over: APRC, Civi CRM, subordinate committees. There's a bit of that. So I think that was pretty much that. Oh, there was a transparency discussion, which apparently caused all kinds of uproar. No decisions were made. I stood firm on my. This is what was surreal. I think you were there, Nathan. I was watching YouTube, and this was at the very end of the meeting. And we're having our transparency discussion. And I am holding firm to the position I've always had. And here's this guy who I know. I can't believe she's against transparency. And I'm like, are we listening to the same meeting? Because I'm saying the exact opposite. Anyway, that was just a discussion. Things are remaining the way they are. But something I would like to point out to people, and don't be upset with Miguel, Nathan. People of good faith have always differed on this. My position's my position. I'm putting myself in his shoes for a second. How vicious people have been. Here's the problem. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. all the people who kept saying, you're going to pull the CRM, you're going to pull the CRM, we know you're going to pull the CRM. You want to know all that's accomplishing? If enough people, let me give you an example. Say you're faithful in your marriage, but your spouse keeps accusing you of cheating to the point of making your life miserable. One day, you're just going to go, fuck it. If I'm going to be accused of it, I'm going to go have me a little something, something. All these people who keep going on, there's this secret plan to yank the CRM. You keep saying that enough, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because people will only be accused of doing something that they're not doing for so long before they go, fuck you. That's just human nature. I'm not saying you're doing it, Nathan. I'm saying this to the people who are the Chicken Littles out there. Same thing with the transparency thing. My position has not changed. It's been the same as it's been since I've been on the LNC. But if every little single thing that anyone says is twisted and perverted and gossiped about and used to viciously slander people, you cannot blame them for not wanting to say anything in public at all. I'm used to it. I'm very used to it. But not everyone on the LNC is. Miguel, this is his first term. He's got a brand new baby that he needs to think about, who's maybe in 4 or 5 years, God, make it a little longer, but kids are getting on the internet in shorter and shorter time. He's got to think about his kid reading this kind of crap about him. I'm an old lady. I don't care. But when you're dealing with these young people with young families, these people who just say the most disgusting things about LNC members, then they're surprised like Pikachu that they don't want to say anything in public. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. While I do think the LNC has an obligation to be transparent, I think there's a reciprocal obligation on the part of membership to treat people fairly. And when they see people being maligned unfairly, they should speak up. I believe there's a reciprocal obligation. Me, I don't care. The LNC's already done the worst it can to me. Like after 2021, what are you going to do? Remove me? Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got reelected, kiss my ass, but not everybody is like me. And I don't believe what you're saying, Nathan. We just disagree. I do think it is what we signed up for up to a point. Up to a point. I can tell you that when what happened to me in 2021, I thought I was ready for, evolutionary wise, our little monkey brains are not equipped to handle the lynch mob when it's bigger than your village. Because evolutionary wise, that's what we're used to. Our villages. When you got people all over the world riding your ass, the human brain's not equipped for that. And I don't think it's fair to expect people to be. We're just going to disagree there. That doesn't mean I'm going to change my position on transparency. I'm not. But I am saying that members, there's an obligation on the part of members too. And just because a particular member might not personally be a deck, when they see someone else dogpiling somebody, be a good person and at least tone it down. You don't have to. There's no libertarian obligation to. But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The nastier people are going to get, the more people are going to be opposed to transparency. It's just bound to happen. And right, Kathy, some people are worried about employers. I couldn't work. There's people today. I've been employed now since, when did I get? Right after Reno. There's still people still making fun of me for being unemployed for a year and claiming that I'm still unemployed. There's assholes out there on Twitter calling me the unemployable paralegal, despite the fact that I've been working. But I couldn't work after what the LNC did to me because of all that publicity. And I don't think it's the right thing to say, if you can't handle that, then the problem is you. No, I don't believe that. So I will not be jumping on Miguel. I don't agree with him, but I understand him. I understand why he feels that way. Crabby old women like me, we don't give a shit. But I understand why people who are just starting their careers with young families would feel that way. So, public, if you want transparency, you got to start policing your own, because there's some nasty people out there that are out to ruin lives, that run to the press and call people white supremacists and Nazis and shit like that. Y'all got to stop that shit. Seriously, I'm just being real here. So anyway, but here's some more reality, though. There's an urban legend in our party that our bylaws require transparency. I bet most of you think that. Man, this is going to be a much longer stream than I thought, because there's a couple urban legends I want to address. I think I'll save the Tiger King for another show. I'm going to edit the show title and take out the Tiger King part, and we're going to do the Tiger King separately, because that'd be a whole other hour to talk about the Tiger King and the faux outrage over Angela daring to say something mildly critical. That'll be a whole other show. But there's an urban legend that our bylaws require transparency. They don't. R1R takes into account tradition until someone challenges it. The minute someone says that's not a rule, it's over. Custom isn't binding. The bylaws are binding. And what RO and custom is of lower authority than Roberts. And you want to know what Roberts says? People who aren't members of bodies have no right to attend. You don't want to be appealing to custom. It is our custom to be very transparent. Custom falls once it's challenged. Now, what our bylaws do require, they do require non-members be able to observe the meetings and to record them. That doesn't mean attend, though. Observe them can be after the fact. It can be a recording. And that's the way the LNC used to do it. If some of you guys who've been around for a while remember 2016, we used to try to live stream on a program called Ustream. Was it Ustream? It went down all the time. It didn't work most of the time. And we kind of podcasted it with a program called Libercast. I'm really speaking to the seasoned party members amongst us. But that's all. That our party bylaws do not require members to be able to attend the meeting. They only require that it's arguable. Let's put it this way. It's arguable. I have my interpretation of the bylaws, which I argued at that meeting. But my interpretation is not solid. It's not unsolid. Let's just put it's ambiguous and it's open to interpretation. I would argue my interpretation, but it would all come down to appealing a ruling of the chair. Okay, 1 second here. Any person may record the National Committee's proceedings while in open session or subscribe to a read-only list on which National Committee votes are recorded. Okay, so that means that the proceedings can be recorded. It's arguably whether that implies that you're allowed to attend if you're not going to be recording it. Also, it says the National Committee and all of its committees shall conduct all votes and actions in open session. Executive session may only be used for discussion of personnel matters, contractual negotiations, pending or potential litigation, or political strategy regarding confidentiality. There's a lot. Our national bylaws aren't great, by the way, and I'm hoping to fix them. Because what does this mean? Let me ask you what you think it means. I could tell you what I think it means. The National Committee shall conduct all votes. Okay, that's clear enough. And actions in open session. What does actions mean? Does that mean discussion? Does it? I argue it does, but I can make the opposite argument. The reason I argue it does is because of the second sentence, which says executive session may only be used for discussion. So, and it doesn't say actions. So I am interpreting in that sentence the word actions to mean discussion, but that's not clear. So let me tell you what I did, Nathan. I went to the bylaws committee that passed that bylaw and asked them, what was intended by action? And let me tell you what wasn't intended: discussion. Now, I can argue that that's what was intended by the delegates who passed it. I haven't went and listened because I'm not even sure if we have a recording of it. I think this was passed in 2012 or 2014. I have to go see if we have recordings, because what does Roberts say about ambiguous phrases? That they should be interpreted in accordance with the intent, in as much as that can be ascertained if it's ambiguous. I think actions is ambiguous. Can we ascertain the original intention? I can ascertain what the bylaws committee meant, and they didn't mean discussion. Now I got to try to ascertain what the delegates intended by listening to the debate. So I have an argument. Is it foolproof? No. But too many party members think that our bylaws say that all discussion has to be held in public. Now, it's obvious that discussion in an in-person meeting has to be public because it can be recorded. But that's not what the argument is about right now. What the argument is about right now is the email list. And that bylaw is not ambiguous when it comes to the email list. We're arguing about action, which I do think a very good argument can be made for discussion, because otherwise, what's the point of recording it? But it doesn't talk about that where it talks about the National Committee list. Let me read the sentence again. Any person may record the National Committee's proceedings while in open session or subscribe to a read-only list on which National Committee votes are recorded. So what does that actually say? All it actually says is that the email list only has to record votes, nothing else. That's what the bylaw clearly says. It's not ambiguous. Do I have to like that? No. When it comes to what Miguel was saying, the bylaws are more on his side than they are on mine. I will be honest with what the bylaw says. Now, let me tell you how I get around that now. Now that I told you the bad news, and JJ, I'd be super, super interested in what you think of my next argument, because I think that bylaw is unambiguous. And we're going to give Nick Sarwark some credit here, because Nick Sarwark became chair in 2014. And you want to know what he said? I don't care what that bylaw says. All discussions are going to be open. He ran on that, and that's why he won. I want to show you a relic from the past. There was some weird porting over, so you're going to see something really strange here, but I want to show you something very, very interesting. Let me share my screen. So just be really, really careful about what you're claiming and what you're arguing, because you might end up with nothing, because the bylaws are more on the side of not me. But let me share my screen here. Okay, you guys should be seeing something in 1 second that says LNC minutes and discussion. And you'll notice, and I've got to update this page, by the way. You got current links and legacy links. I got to update this spreadsheet recording for all LNC votes to 2022. I got to stick that under legacy and put in the 2023 one. But look under these legacy links for a second here. You see this old link here, the second one down, called LNC votes, legacy Google group. Let's pull that up. This is what was created. Whoops. It's not there anymore. Damn it. Now you're looking at some of you saw some of my secret sauce. Now you just saw some other groups. That link is bad right now. I'll have to find it. What it was, which I think you can tell, I got to fix that link. It was a Google group that only email ballots were recorded on, because that's all the bylaws required. And Nick, for everyone complaining about Angela taking unilateral action, Nick was the king of unilateral action. Do you think he took a vote of the LNC about that? No, he didn't. He said, you don't like it? I don't care. Everything's going to be open. And that's where the current LNC list came into existence. He should have probably taken a vote of the LNC on that. But you don't see some of these critics today mentioning any of that, do you? And I'll agree with you, Nathan. That was a based Sarwark moment. Sarwark used to be really good. That's how he got elected in 2014, was on a platform of transparency. Nick used to be radical as hell, but he was also a bit of a dictator. He just did what he wanted to. Yeah, the bylaw only requires votes. So everyone's screaming about these secret lists. you're going to ensure a self-fulfilling prophecy, because guess what? The bylaws do not require the LNC to discuss by email in public a damn thing. Do you want to know why they do? Because Nick unilaterally made a decision, and people like myself, who these people hate, and Star Child, and I'm not going to mention names of, there's been other heroes of this, in my opinion. I'm not saying the people who disagreed with us are villains, who kept the flame alive. But those of y'all, not anyone in this group, but you know who I'm talking about on Twitter, you keep pushing this issue, all that's going to happen is there's just going to be votes. Why do you think I threw a fit last term? And I will mention names because this was a public discussion. Susan Hogarth was complaining, ballots and discussions, it's too cluttered. Let's separate them into two separate lists where there's just votes on one list and discussion on another. And I lost my shit. Now, do you understand why I lost my shit? Because she was reversing what Sarwark did. The minute you split those into two lists, it takes a flip of the button to make the discussion secret and only the votes public. That's why I lost my shit. And she made me out to be the bad guy. Go back and read those discussions, and now maybe you'll understand why I got so upset. I was looking out for you guys. I will never agree to split those two lists. Never. I will vote no every single time on that. And that's why. Yes, I agree it can be confusing, but it's too damn easy to make the discussion secret if you split them into two lists. Sarwark's biggest achievement in my eyes was combining them into one list, and I will protect that. So, just so you know. But now, JJ, I want your honest opinion, because you know, if I disagree, I'll just tell you I disagree. On my second argument, I agree that bylaw we just read only requires votes to be public. In that respect, Miguel is right. Custom dictates against it. But the minute somebody says, Roberts doesn't say this, because Roberts will tell you, don't do deliberations by email. Our bylaws don't say it. Point of order, Madam Chair. So let me tell you my other argument, though. I don't know if I'll win this argument, but this is my other argument. Let's pull up the bylaws again. And here's where I want JJ's opinion. 1 second. This is a creative argument. I've given JJ a bunch of creative arguments lately that he hasn't agreed with me on. Bylaws. Okay. Go to the electronic ballot section, because remember, and maybe we just need to stick this in the policy manual. Electronic mail ballots follows meetings. It's electronic 13. It's boards and committees may transact business by electronic mail. Well, what does transact? That's all we need to read right now. Because I'm going to give my argument just from that one sentence. I think JJ knows where I'm going. What does transact business mean? Does it mean just vote? Or does it mean the debate and the seconds and everything else that goes along with it? I think transact business by electronic mail means as close as you can approximate an actual deliberative session, which then brings in discussions, which are intrinsically part of the vote. Is that a great argument? No, but it's an argument. That's my argument. But I'm telling you, everyone out there, do you care about transparency like I do? Stop riding people's asses about it, because you're going to end up losing the little bit that you have. Because I'm one vote. I am only one vote. If this comes down to a vote, with the way people are acting online, I'm going to lose this vote. Now, do you think I care? I mean, I'd care to lose transparency. But do you think my tender feelings will be hurt by a 16-1 vote? Or is there 18 people on the LNC right now? 18. A 17-1 vote? No. I've done it before. But what do you care about? Do you care about being an asshole on Twitter? Or do you care about preserving transparency? That's a question I think everyone needs to ask themselves. Now, I hope I put a dash of cold water on all of y'all. That the bylaws don't say what they think you say. They actually agree a lot more with Miguel than they do with me. And guess who passed those bylaws? The delegates did. And I'll tell you why they did it that way. Because I talked to Chuck Moulton, who was part of that bylaws committee. And the point of view of the bylaws committee is if we tried to get full transparency in one swoop, because it requires a 2/3 vote, it would never happen. So they dug out little pieces. Getting votes to be public on email was a big step. And then Nick just acted like a dictator in a way that I liked, but he did just act like a dictator and said, I'm throwing it all open. But the LNC at any moment, including this LNC, can reverse that decision. I'll vote against it. I bow to you. I'll vote against it. But if y'all keep picking on the rest of the people on the LNC, I'm going to lose. I'm just telling you. And y'all know I'm telling you the truth. But let me let you in on something that I also let the LNC in on. This bylaws committee is going to try to codify transparency better. But you keep needling and needling and needling, you piss off enough delegates, they're not going to pass it. So help me. Help me. Just chill the fuck out. And when you see a good bylaws committee proposal come out, vote for it. And then we won't be having this argument every 2 years. Because I'm going to tell you somebody I super respect and that I think Richard Brown super respects. And I don't know how well he knows her, but I think up to the extent he knows her, JJ super respects. And that's Alicia Matson. And guess who agrees with Miguel? Alicia Matson. She doesn't agree with me. Most of the parliamentarians agree with Miguel, not me. I don't really pretend, though, that my argument is sheerly a parliamentary one. To me, I hate saying a principled one because I'm not trying to accuse people who disagree with me of being unprincipled. It's just my principle. I favor transparency because I've been fucked over so much by a lack of transparency and a lack of due process and things like that. So it's very personal to me. But anyway, That's one urban legend. Oh my God, we're at an hour and 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you another urban legend. I want to tell y'all something funny I just found. Here's a new urban legend. Thou shalt not infringe, abridge, that's the word. Thou shalt not abridge the autonomy of the affiliates. Yeah, that's in our bylaws. And as Alicia Matson said, the bylaw doesn't end there. It says, except as provided in these bylaws. And in order to comply with our bylaws, we have to know who the board is. But what's so funny is that this is an urban. Now, Nick did a really, really good thing when he combined those two lists. But you want to know where this urban legend sprang up from? And I bought into it for a long time. Now, I still agree that the right result was reached in Oregon in 2011, but I fundamentally disagree with my former self on how we got there and agree more and more with Alicia Matson. I still think both of them should have just been disaffiliated. I don't think either of those boards were right. But I do think the board that the Oregonians wanted is the board that ended up being selected. Anyway, but this whole myth that when you have these two competing groups, both claiming to be the state affiliate that the LNC can't choose, guess who created that myth? Or at least had a big part in it? Nick Sarwark. Because this was a myth that was pretty unheard of prior to 2011. I read you that letter from Steve Dasbach in the first Oregon dispute. They picked a board. I found another one. Steve Dasbach was involved in that one too, which is why I find it so funny that he's low-key siding with the rogue group right now in Michigan, saying, oh, the LNC shouldn't be taking sides. Great, Steve. If you changed your mind, that's good. I changed my mind about the Oregon 2011 reasoning. But I'd like to hear how you changed your mind, because I can tell you why I changed mine. And it isn't because I didn't like the result, because I did like the result, and I still come to the same result, even though I have different reasoning now. But I want to pull up my Facebook page, because I found another time they chose between two competing boards, and Steve Dasbach was on that LNC too. Irony of ironies. This just wasn't controversial in the past, and it doesn't originate with this LNC. I tweet too much, so I'm never going to be able to find this tweet, but I don't Facebook as much, so I'll be able to find where I talked about it on my Facebook. Hold on one second. 1990. In 1990, the LNC decided between two groups claiming to be the Alaska Party. And guess who made that motion? Another very, very well-respected person in the party, Dean Ahmad. Any of you who've been around this party a long time know that Dean Ahmad is, everyone loves Dean. He's the one who made the motion to say, nope, our leadership is this group and not this group. And Steve Dasbach voted for it too. So, and I wasn't dealing with Arizona. Arizona was more complicated, Nathan. I do think Arizona was more complicated. It was not nearly as clean as these. So I like dealing with Oregon 1995. and now Alaska, 2000. Was it 2000? No, 1990. I'm sure I'm going to find more examples of this. It just wasn't controversial until Nick Sarwark became involved. Alicia was absolutely right, and I used to disagree with her. I'm going to try to find her quote. Oh, God, these are some spicy peanuts. I'm pretty sure I posted it in the LNC membership discretion group. Oh my God, more posts have been in here than I remember. I haven't been paying that much attention. It means people have been behaving themselves. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm going to read my entire post, which is going to quote Ms. Matson. Because I keep needing to quote this section to members, I find it useful to post it here. It is the Judicial Committee opinion in last year, meaning 2022's Delaware case, in which there were two groups, particularly two different people claiming to be chair. I am going to add a caveat not explicitly stated here. These rules apply when the LNC can determine who is correct in a dispute. Sometimes it can't be reasonably determined. And I think that's what happened in 2011 in Oregon, by the way. Okay. And I'm continuing. Asking the LNC to always step aside in an affiliate leadership controversy is asking the LNC to violate its bylaws. All of us, no matter who says what, or how long they've been in the party, or how many people say what, are elected to uphold our bylaws. Ms. Matson, also a distinguished member of the party, multiple bylaws committee member, past JC member, and a professional registered parliamentarian, said this. Heed it well, and I'm going to read Ms. Matson in her Delaware opinion. She said the same thing in an Oregon opinion. I just think she picked the wrong side, but I'm now convinced her reasoning wasn't wrong. Must the LNC make any decision when it is disputed who the key affiliate officers are, particularly the office of chair? The LP bylaws say yes, and they do so in numerous places. Appendix A to this opinion, and she lists a bunch of bylaws provisions, is a listing of at least 15 provisions in the LP bylaws that require knowing the identity of the state affiliate, certain of its officers, and its governing documents. An ability to determine who represents an affiliate and who its officers are is baked into the very nature of these bylaws provisions. If you're not going to let the LNC be able to figure out who the chair is, you are telling the LNC to violate its bylaws, no matter how many times you scream, abridge the autonomy of the affiliate. She's going to get into that, but I'm just telling you. Just as judicial committee jurisdiction for a situation in which, quote, the affiliate party may challenge the revocation of its status, end quote, necessarily requires the judicial committee to identify whether the appealing party is actually the affiliate. Is the judicial committee abridging the autonomy of the affiliate when it determines whether or not it even has jurisdiction over the case? Because in order for it to have jurisdiction over the case, the people doing the appeal have to actually be the affiliate? Continuing. The Appendix A bylaws provisions establishing LNC obligations for affiliate interaction necessarily authorize the LNC to identify the organization it has affiliated and the officers of the affiliate with whom they must interact. Otherwise, these bylaws would be absurd. R1R 5668 subsection 2 provides that when an interpretation is necessary, a not absurd interpretation option must be chosen over one which renders absurd another bylaws provision. And of course, she's saying it renders absurd 15 other bylaws provisions. The Appendix A references do not have any clauses which say, unless there's a dispute over who the affiliate officers are. A decision must be made in order to faithfully comply with these bylaws provisions. This need to recognize affiliate officers is commonly accepted during times when there is no affiliate dispute at play. To facilitate ordinary party activities, LP staff keeps a list of contact information for state chairs. LNC officers and staff routinely use this list to contact affiliates about various party functions. If Xi Jinping were to email the LNC asserting to be the chair of the Libertarian Party of Delaware, should the LNC ignore all the warning signs surrounding this assertion and treat it as fact? Or should the LNC reject such an invalid claim? A mere assertion is not sufficient to make one the rightful affiliate chair. Now that there is a dispute in Delaware, many misread LP Bylaws Article 5.5, which says the autonomy of the affiliate and sub-affiliate parties shall not be abridged by the National Committee or by any other committee of the party except as provided by these bylaws. That passage does not end after the autonomy of the affiliate and sub-affiliate parties shall not be abridged by the National Committee or any other committee of the party. There's another clause which impacts the meaning, except as provided by these bylaws. The LNC, respecting an affiliate's rules and elections by working with the rightful affiliate chair, as opposed to someone who is not the rightful chair, is respecting the affiliate's autonomy, not abridging it. The LP bylaws provide at least 15 requirements, including duties to interact with the affiliate and its officers, which mean that even if applying the affiliate's rules to determine its chair's identity is perceived by some as an abridging of its autonomy, the LNC and other party committees are required to do so in order to abide by these 15 bylaws. The LNC is obligated by its bylaws to know who certain affiliates officers are, and if disputes arise, affiliate autonomy is preserved, so long as the LNC accurately applies the affiliate's own rules to determine with whom the LNC will work. It would violate affiliate autonomy for the LNC to substitute its own preferences for those of the affiliate and not let the affiliate's own rules answer the question. And she is absolutely correct. And Nathan Madden is absolutely correct. Autonomy of the affiliate means the internal processes, or what building they might buy, or whether they decide they don't want to use the chicken on a stick. They'd rather use the Lady of Liberty, because we don't have any bylaws that says that we can tell them that. The completely inane and immature, and I mean immature, I don't mean babyish. I mean immature as in lacking understanding, not being in the party long enough. Understanding of that bylaw is absolutely shocking to me. And it's shocking to me by people who have been in the party long enough to know better. I'm going to say in my defense, when I used to interpret it that way, I was in the party for a year and a half. There have been people in the party for like decades. that are now making this argument, including people we've mentioned before. The only way the LNC can honor the autonomy of an affiliate is by respecting its rules. So, in a particular case, let's say in Michigan, come April 1st, a group of officers gets elected in Wixom that I don't like. It doesn't matter. That's who the officers are. To do otherwise would be substituting my own preferences. But that is exactly what the illegitimate group is trying to get us to do. We don't like these Mises people. You don't like these Mises people. Pick us, even though we weren't under the rules. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So those were the two urban legends I wanted to deal with. The transparency urban legend and the autonomy of the affiliate urban legend. They both exist, but not to the extent that people think they do. I want to scroll down here in comments a little bit. I think I missed some while I was ranting. A lot of it I already addressed, even though I didn't see it. Okay, Richard had a good comment here. I'm going to put this up because there's been some member complaints about this, and I'm going to tell you my position. He said, I do think that the LNC should have been more transparent about exactly what legal matters were to be discussed in executive session. Some members, and I want to hide this because it's so big and distracting me now that I've read it. Some members have said the same. I say hi to Wayne.
Hey guys.
What are you doing? You can't right now. Well, I'm not putting him out. He'll just pee. Well, he's got a wee pad. Okay. Wayne said good night, and he shut the door. There comes a point where if you give too much specifics, you've given away the strategy. I think we have disclosed as much as we can without giving away the strategy. But I understand the complaint. And it is something that we have wrestled with. But let me give you an example. Our last motion, some people got mad at. Let me see if I can find it. Give me 1 second. The chair is authorized to expend up to $10,000 from budget line 8210-10 immediately for the purpose of providing to the LNC a legal brief on our trademark rights. Some people were upset about that because they're going, what's that mean? Anyone who's been paying attention can figure out what that means. And it can be used for the future. More detail gives away strategy, and we're not going to do that. However, this is what I will tell unhappy members. Because I know people don't believe I did this, and I did. When who I believe to be the illegitimate chair of Michigan, well, it's actually not just my belief. The LNC does not recognize this person as the chair of Michigan. Mr. Salaba wrote me. I gave him a full down of all of his appeal rights. He chose to ignore it, at least up to this point. There's still some appeal rights he has. I think he thought I was trying to trick him. I was not. This is what I will say to members who think that what the description of what we are going into executive session, be it staff, legal, whatever it might be, isn't descriptive enough. I encourage members who think that we are running afoul of the bylaws by not being descriptive enough. I encourage members to get the signatures and appeal that to the judicial committee and have the judicial committee decide if we're being descriptive enough. I always welcome appeals. I like the direction. I like the certainty. So, Dances with Squirrels, I would love to hear the reasons. Because maybe there are reasons that I'll be like, oh, well, that's the way the party is. But some of the reasons could be misconceptions. And other of the reasons could have been valid a couple years ago, but aren't valid now. If one of the reasons is that they were absolute cowards about the COVID lockdown, I would agree with them. Because we were. Yeah, JJ, he can do a member petition. There's no time limit on that. I'm getting addicted to, oh, this is going to sound dirty. I'm getting addicted to these spicy nuts. That's what she said. Need some soda. Well, I think that's it. This is now your last few minutes to ask a question. I've actually got minutes I'm supposed to be finishing. I wasn't supposed to do a stream tonight, but tomorrow I've got tomorrow I got a historical committee, I think. Isn't our policy manual committee meeting tomorrow too, Kathy? I've got too many committees. I had ballot access committee tonight. That was fun. And I mean that literally. I didn't mean that sarcastically, but I've got these minutes to finish. These won't be long though. But I decided to do a stream when I was in the middle of these. Oh, you can't see, can you? Yeah, the March 8th minutes. So I got to finish those. That was mostly an executive session, so that'll be easy. Nathan, I don't know enough about the AZ split to have an opinion on it yet. I just know it was a bit more complicated and had to do with one of the factions refusing to put our presidential candidate on the ballot. They put L. Neil Smith, the science fiction author from Colorado, on instead of whoever it was supposed to be. Instead of Harry Brown, right? It was 2000, so it was instead of Harry Brown. I don't know enough about it. I want to tell you something interesting, Nathan. You want to know how they decided who to reaffiliate with? They sent out paper ballots to every national member in Arizona, asking them, should we affiliate? Because they had 2 petitions for affiliation. Should we affiliate with Group A or Group B? I have the box of those paper ballots from Arizona. I've got like 3 big boxes from the Arizona split. I'm seeing if there's any other question. Who's Magder DeLorne? I keep seeing that name, and I never see him in my chat. I must have them blocked. I don't know. Who's Magdalene DeLorne? Beto says, do you believe that localists should have the freedom to govern themselves as they see fit? I don't know who the he is. Even if that meant making decisions that were not in line with his own libertarian beliefs. I'm confused by the question because you seem to be dealing with a group in the first part of the sentence and an individual in the second part of the sentence. So let me answer what I think you mean. I don't know who JJ's talking to. I wasn't in the LP in 2015. All I could say, Dances with Squirrels, is give us another chance. It's a different party now. I joined late 2014. I didn't really know very much in 2015. I joined September 17th, 2014. I became an LNC rep in May of 2016. I became an anarchist on July 27th, 2015. Yes, I'm autistic. Can you tell? Okay, so Beto's question. I'm trying to understand the difference here. I don't see a Magni DeLorme, JJ. Or Magner. So I hope you, that's why I'm puzzled. So Beto, I can't make heads or tails out of your question. If you're asking me, can a group have the freedom to govern themselves as see fit, even if it's in a non-libertarian way? Of course, as long as they all agree to it. Because isn't that what our libertarian beliefs say? Like, say you had a bunch of people together who decided that we all agree that the best way to determine if someone is a witch is if she weighs less than a duck. Now, I obviously don't think that's a very just way to determine if someone is a witch. But if everyone, including the accused witch, agrees that that's a just way, who am I to disagree? That's perfectly libertarian, if that's what you meant. If you're asking, do I believe people can voluntarily be communists? Yeah, but everyone has to agree. Yeah, so I'm not seeing who JJ's talking to. So JJ's argument seems really interesting. I wish I could see the other half of it. JJ said, this is what I want to know what you're talking about, JJ. How could you tell they have never been appealed? What was the comment that prompted that? I'm so curious. I'm going to give you a minute. While I indulge in some spicy nuts. If everyone agreed, Beto, if one person disagrees, no, I'm not. That's infringing upon their rights, and individual rights aren't up for a vote or popular agreement. But if everyone did, what do I care? Oh, how can I tell that the JC is biased because there's been no appeal? Everybody in the world is biased. Delegates elected them. If you don't want to abide by the decision of the delegates, don't know why you're in a voluntary society. I see what you're saying now. Every JC could be biased. Every person in the world is biased. Those are the rules you agreed to. Just because they're not turning out the way you like. Listen, I say this to everybody. I'm going to put on my sarcastic face. Wait, where's my phone? Definitely needs my phone for this one. I post way too damn much, don't I? Oh, wrong group. Ha! Decide to laugh at people who make that argument. The JC might make a decision that you don't like. I wouldn't know a thing about that. That's never happened to me. Wow. Let's see. Well, that's assuming everyone walks in lockstep. Just talked about how Miguel and I don't. Mike Seebeck's not. He's not Mises. Rob Latham, he's not Mises. Trying to think of who else is on. I don't even know who's on the JC. That shows you how much I even think about it. Two of them I know for sure aren't. And if you don't want to appeal, don't appeal. I could tell you what a court's going to think about that. Subcommittees. Let's look here. Okay. Stefan Kinsella, I don't know if he's officially an MC member, but he certainly would be MC friendly. Ken Krawchak, he's not a caucus person. Rob Latham, as far as I know, Rob Latham is definitely not Mises Caucus. Mark Montoni is definitely not Mises Caucus. He's one of the founders of the Radical Caucus. Mike Seebeck is not Mises Caucus. Rob Stratton, I don't think he is. He's the former chair of the Radical Caucus. Blay Tarnoff might be. So let me see here. God, I love when people make shit up. We've got how many members here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me count who I know is definitely, well, God, none of them do I know is definitely Mises. But let me guess who I think is probably Mises. Is 3. Let me guess who I definitely know is not Mises. 3. That leaves 1 up in the air. Tell the truth, Pinocchio. Tell the truth, Pinocchio. Because even the 3, I think were definitely, I'm not positive. Because I don't know if Ken Krawchak is Mises. Stefan Kinsella, I don't know if he officially is, but I think you can consider him Mises. Mike Seebeck definitely is not. He's not a caucus person, and he's disagreed with Mises a shit ton. Mark Montoni definitely is not. Rob Latham definitely is not. Oh, I get it. Because you would only endorse people who agree with you. You're assuming everyone does that. Projection is a bitch. So, 7 JC members. If I'm being generous, 3 of them are definitely Mises. This third one I'm not sure about. I don't know what. 3 of them definitely isn't. So Blay is. So let's count this again. I know Blay, but I don't know him terribly well. I know he's from New York. So Stefan Kinsella, Mises. Does anyone know for sure if Ken Krawchak is? Let's just count him. Let's say he is, and let's say Blay Tarnoff, you said is. That's 3. So let's say definitely 3. Rob Latham, definitely no. Mark Montoni, definitely no. Michael Seebeck, definitely no. Rob Stratton, I don't know. He was the chair of the Radical Caucus, so I'm assuming he's not. Let me look. I wonder if he's in the Mises group on Facebook. I don't think he is. Rob Stratton is hardcore Radical Caucus guy. Seems like somebody was telling a fib. What group is this? Search this group. It looks like Rob Stratton requested to join the Mises Caucus, and his request wasn't approved. Maybe it just got lost, but he's not a member. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong group because I don't even know how I would see that, but that's what I see because I'm not a moderator there. But he's never posted there. Let's look up Ken Krawcheck. Ken Krawcheck's not a member. Maybe he's not on Facebook. But if he's on Facebook, he's not a member of the Mises Caucus group. So I think I just determined that a majority of them aren't Mises Caucus members. I think what just happened is called getting hoisted on your own petard. I'm curious if Ken, I know everybody else is on. Let's see if Ken's even on Facebook. People ask me all the time, who's in Mises? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't pay any attention to that shit. Ken's on Facebook, not in the Mises group. Oops. Oops. You want to hear something funny too about how we all walk in lockstep? Guess who opposed deleting the abortion plank? Guess who opposed deleting the other language everyone got so upset about? Nathan asks, is there any benefit to joining a caucus? Yes. I was in the Radical Caucus for a long time. A caucus is a great way if you share a common goal of having economies of scale, pooling your resources to get a goal accomplished. To me, I'm not trying to belittle you. Please don't take it this way. It's a silly question. If you can pool resources, you're going to get more done. Is there any downside to being in a caucus? Yes. Like the bullshit we just saw. In about January 2018, I resigned the Radical Caucus. There were multiple reasons for this, and I brought receipts for these reasons online. The main reason is there's sub-functions within the Libertarian Party, Nathan. It's a function of the party, but to pretend like there isn't sub-functions within it, nah. For instance, you want to know what I would encourage you to form? The Civi CRM caucus, to make sure that the Civi CRM is funded, gets the attention it deserves. Now, is there a downside to being in a caucus? Yeah, the bullshit we just saw. That's one of them. Sometimes there's expectations put upon you. And that goes to why I resigned the Radical Caucus. I resigned the Radical Caucus in 2018. I resigned for multiple reasons. One, our FEC reports were really screwed up, which happens because the FEC sucks. And our treasurer at the time kept telling me for 2 years that they were going to fix it and never did. They lied to me. And I was running to be party secretary at the time. And I said, I can't be officer and be on the board of a caucus that screwed up its FEC reports for 2 years and hasn't even tried to fix it. It wasn't that the report was screwed up. It wasn't even, I don't even think it's fixed to this day. And this is 2018. And it was already screwed up for 2 years back then. So that's one reason I quit. The second, well, Justin, I will oppose you forever on that. I'm with Nathan Mathen on that one. Nathan Madden on that one. So Nathan, if you form the Civi CRM caucus, count me as a member. I don't want to be the chair though. I just want to be a member. What was the second reason? Oh, the second reason is I felt they were putting pressure on me to vote a certain way. I'm not going to get into the vote. It doesn't matter. There was a third reason. I can't remember what it was now. Oh, the third reason, which I still believe in, which might seem understandably pretty hypocritical, but I am going to explain why it's not, or at least I don't think it is. I really don't think LNC members should be in a caucus. And you might go, well, that's pretty hypocritical. You're in a caucus and you're on the LNC. Yeah, because of what they did to me last year. I look forward to the day when I can be caucusless again. But the lone wolf gets picked off. So during the period of time when all that crap was going down in 2021, I was not a member of any caucus. But you want to know who had my back? Even though they owed me nothing, they had my back because it was the right thing to do, was the Mises caucus. And that's why I joined. And why I remain loyal to this day. But they don't tell me how to vote. They don't tell me what to do. I am absolutely free to disagree. So there is upsides and there are downsides. In the future, I do hope to be caucusless again. But I think caucuses serve a hugely valuable function. And I always have. I'm just not good at being in a group. I've got oppositional defiance disorder. I mean, that is a joke, kind of, not really. So sometimes I don't play well with others. But that's why I joined. The 2 years that I was in the Radical Caucus, I worked my ass off for them. I couldn't get them to write 5 emails for something important. Do you want to know how many emails from Mises, or at least mostly Mises people, wrote when they were persecuting me? About 1,300. I got more than Tom Woods. I couldn't get the Radical Caucus to raise a finger. And that's why I'm loyal. Because I value loyalty. But nobody tells me what to do, and they don't try to tell me what to do. Because the one reason they wanted me on the LNC was because that's how I am. That's why I laugh when people say I'm being handled. Because I say, yeah, we saw how well handling me worked last time. Doesn't work out very well. I am not a type who's handled. All right, see if there's anything more. And I do appreciate that, Justin. But I'm sure you remember that. I wasn't a caucus member when all that went on. When did I join? Most people don't know. They think I was a caucus member. I was not. I joined the Mises Caucus after I lost my appeal. I stayed completely caucusless during that entire time. So I joined the Mises Caucus at some point in November of 2021, if I remember correctly. So it's been just over a year. I was with the Radical Caucus for way longer than that. And funny enough, on paper, I still agree with the Radical Caucus more on paper. But unfortunately, I don't think they've lived up to what they could. And I still have a great fondness for the Radical Caucus. Well, I appreciate that, Beto. I agree with what you said. What you're describing, actually, maybe not exactly, or maybe you haven't heard this term before, but it might not be exactly what you're describing. But let me tell you where I'm coming from. It's something called panarchy. I know I like to shorthand call myself an anarchist, but I'm actually a panarchist. And that seems to be what you're describing there. I'm going to see if there is anything else. Yeah, Justin knows we don't agree. I'm almost embarrassed to say this. Do you remember when I first came into the Mises group? What was my number one pastime? Was defending Nick Sarwark. I'm like, you guys are being so unfair. Oh. Oh, I remember those days. I'm embarrassed by those days. Oh, I should go find all those posts and delete them. Oh. Okay. Well, I think that's it for the night. I'm going to finish my March 8th minutes. There probably will not be a stream tomorrow. Maybe there will be. Thursday, bylaws. I'll be there. That's funny, Justin. So I'm going to end with this last thing. A lot of people have said to me, God, I've gotten this question a lot lately, who see what's going on in their state parties and they feel helpless. And I understand that feeling. Let me tell you a quick story before I go, and then we're going to go. And this is going to relate to you. People ask me why I became a parliamentarian. Believe me, that isn't what I wanted to do. But Kim Ruff, those of you may remember Kim Ruff. Kim Ruff and I were on the bylaws committee in 2016 to 2018 with a bunch of parliamentarians. And it was the type of parliamentarians they didn't use it in the right way, which is why my show is called The Cult of RONR. They used it like priests with a bunch of people who didn't know how to read the Bible. And it was about the second meeting, and we virtually walked out of this meeting. We were on Zoom. Pretty sure it was Zoom. And we looked at each other. I looked at her. She looked at me. And we said, what the hell just happened? We felt like in that meeting, we just went like we got manhandled, just got absolutely mauled by these people because they knew how to use the rules and they knew how to weaponize them. And I said to Kim, Kim, promise you something. I do not like the way I feel right now. And I am going to do everything I can to make sure nobody ever feels like that again in this party. And that's why I became a parliamentarian. So that would never happen to me again. And if I saw it happening to somebody else, I'd step in and kick some ass for them. So if you want to know why I became a parliamentarian, you can thank M. Carling. You can actually thank Alicia Matson and Aaron Starr too, even though I love Alicia. She manhandled me pretty badly. All right. So on that note, though, I get a lot of questions. Hey, I'm really interested with what you do. How do I become a parliamentarian? And, and I give them some of the things that I did, but I tell them really the way that you learn it is by doing it. And when you're doing it, look it up so you understand why. I learned almost everything I knew from being on the LNC and attending well-run meetings. So, or decently run meetings. A really good way to learn is by watching old national conventions. Nick Sarwark was an excellent convention chair. I know it's a joke. But he ran really good meetings. He did, though. Nick ran really good meetings. So watch some old meetings of Nick's and show up at the bylaws committee meetings, because we really try to run those by the book. Not always, but we try, and you'll learn a lot, and we like it and ask questions. Okay, everyone, I hope you have an awesome night. I did a long stream tonight, a couple hours, so hopefully we'll tide you over. And I got to remember to take out the Tiger King. We'll talk about him another night. You have an awesome night. Bye-bye.